The T20 World Cup is finally coming to an end, but there's one more game, and this one's for all the marbles. India versus New Zealand. Two of the best sides this World Cup. Neither were perfect, but they've somehow ended up here, and I guess we just have to talk about it. India and New Zealand have had very different tournaments. New Zealand were put in the group of death with South Africa and Afghanistan, while India had a fairly easier group. New Zealand mainly lost to England and South Africa, while India only lost to South Africa in the Super 8s. These losses came mainly due to their weakness showing up after their strengths ended up failing. New Zealand's key weaknesses are anything after their top four. Mitchell and Chapman are batting fairly low, and they've just not been great at the death. And that's why Seifert and Allen going well in the power play is so important to them, because they just need that extra boost that most teams would get into death. They do also have a clear problem against spin, which is something I said that South Africa would struggle with against New Zealand in the semifinal, because South Africa did not have enough spinners. And now we look at a team like India, who on a normal day would be the greatest spin attack in the world, but Varun hasn't been getting it right. He's a mystery spinner, and that honestly requires turn, which is something that opponents know very well. However, leaving Varun out could prove detrimental to the team because his replacement is Kuldeep. Someone like Kuldeep Yadav has not been known to perform well against pressure, but he is a lot better than Varun. I mean, the dude walks into any team in any format without any hesitation, and he also averages under 14 in T20 internationals. New Zealand is a struggle for him, but he still does average just 21 against them, which is way better than Varun's 33. Varun also does go back to his stock delivery when he gets hit, which without turn is very easy for a capable batter like Tim Seifert or Daryl Mitchell to hit for six pretty easily. We saw this with Brevis, Miller, and Stubbs in the South Africa game. He also attempts to target the stumps when he gets hit, which, specifically talking about the last match with Jacob Bethel, was not a good idea. And then he goes wide, and then he gets hit through covers or somewhere else. He just gets cut away, he gets hit through covers, something happens. With no assisted turn, it's really hard for Varun to work. Going back to my point about Kuldeep, he's a Chinaman, which is really good into Finn Allen and Tim Seifert. The other thing about India and New Zealand is that disruption is key. This game isn't really about who plays better, but about who outsmarts who. We know that New Zealand's strategy is to just restrict the team and chase down the low total or choke them out with off spinners. And they also need that disruption from Seifert to break the bowler's rhythm if they are losing wickets on the other side with Allen and Ravindra. The Indian team needs spin in the power play, and I think Axar is absolutely perfect for this. Way better than Varun. First of all, Axar is a left-arm off-spinner up against a top order chock full of right-handers. Second of all, Axar can also utilize the bounce on this pitch far better than someone like Varun or Washington Sundar could. Third of all, he's also a great fielder, so if Allen and Seifert try to hit straight down the ground, then he can easily field that, and that leads to more dots, which leads to more pressure, which hopefully could lead to wickets down the line in the middle overs, in the 7th over if he's bowling the 5th over. All this to say that Varun is not necessary for Team India's success. The middle order of New Zealand will definitely have some concerns when it comes to Kuldeep and Axar, but they are both bad matchup-wise into Mark Chapman, so he has to step up if Kuldeep is playing. We've seen Mark Chapman do great against pace, particularly against Rauf and Shaheen, but not so much against spin. He gets a little too timid and doesn't swing his bat as much. Also on a similar point, Daryl Mitchell loves playing against India, so I wouldn't write New Zealand off, even if you do lose Seifert, Allen, Ravindra, and Phillips early. So overall, bringing in Kuldeep shouldn't do that much harm to India. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's more beneficial than sticking with Varun. The other thing I want to talk about is India's bowling with Allen's batting and how crucial the power play will be to both teams. If Varun does end up playing, they need the wickets of both Seifert and Allen early on, and if he doesn't, they at least need to break the opening stand. New Zealand's opening duo have definitely been the best in the tournament, and without them, New Zealand would have done terribly, or they have done terribly without them. They've consistently made their 50-run partnership within the first 6, but India has to break that by the 5th over, or by Axar's first over at least. And if not, New Zealand is already ahead. Allen was looking really uncomfortable against Bosch and Janssen, considering that he scored that 100 off of 33. That's really something to say, he was looking uncomfortable against them. I think they were bowling too wide and too short, and pitched it just enough so that Allen could carve it away most times. Essentially, what I'm getting at is that Hardik's slower balls in the power play could work well against Allen, or even Arshdeep's left arm angle could work. But here's what's more exciting. India's batting against New Zealand's bowling. As I said before, New Zealand's strat is to just choke them out with spin or restrict them to a chaseable score. Sentner, McConkey, and Ravindra have been doing this very well. McConkey, I think they pronounce it McConkey. I'm not sure, man. I'm just going to say McConkey. So let me edit that on my script. McConkey's been doing really well in the power play, while Ravindra and Santner have done it in the middle. Santner's economy in this World Cup has been great, going at 6.3, while the average economy is around 8 to 8.5. Ravindra has been even better, with 11 wickets in 6 innings at an average of just 10.6. And Phillips hasn't bowled all that much either. So, this is actually just really, really good. Oh, and Ish Sudhi has barely played as well. Their best T20 bowler hasn't even played that many matches. This is basically just a wall in the middle order, especially against a team stashed with left-handers. India's going to struggle against these off-spinners. In this case, the disruption that India has is Shivam Dube. He primarily did it against the leggies, against Adil Rashid in the last match, but he has to do it against off-spinners, which is still something that even he has struggled with. An example I can remember is Aryan Dutt in the Netherlands game. He was 3 off 8 at one point, which is, he does play out the first 2 or 3 deliveries, but he doesn't go all the way to 8. Usually when he's 8 deliveries in, he's usually on 17 or something, He's not on 3 of 8. That's something very unlike Shivam Dube. So clearly off-spin, something they have to work on. And honestly, it's not like they have a backup righty anyway that they could just bring in for Abhishek Sharma. You have to just bat it out. Their only batters on the bench are Rinku Singh and Washington Sundar, who are 2 lefties. So what do? You have to bat it out, which is very unfortunate. You can't slog Santner, and this pitch can be bouncy. It is a mixed pitch, so it can definitely be bouncy. And you can't be overconfident against Ravindra, who, even though he is a part-timer, he still gets that turn, and he still does have, a natural Ravindra Jadeja kind of action, where he will, he's probably a bit better than Ravindra Jadeja while bowling in T20s, just because he can take that many wickets and not go with that much, but, I don't think he's better yet, but he does have the tendency to be really, really good, and he still does get natural turn, he does get natural drift. He's a very talented player, is what I'm trying to say. McConkey is bowling in the power play, so he'll probably get Abhishek and / or Ishan in the power play. Sanju just has to play another big knock because he's their only right-hander. You have Surya, who, yes, he is a right-hander against off-spin, but he's still struggling. He's batting at a strike rate of 120 against off-spin. And, oh my god, his statements against off-spin have been that this is why I don't like Surya Kumar Yadav. But that's relevant. 3 player of the matches and 3 knockouts for Sanju Samson is basically what India need to win this trophy. I really don't see much about New Zealand's pace other than that they're gonna get hit by India's batters for sure. If Abhishek can hit a good amount of runs in the first over, maybe a boundary, maybe even 1 boundary, then he can probably gain some confidence against off-spin. India can definitely do something great here, There's a very good chance that Abhishek can hit 2 boundaries in the first over and score 150. There's a good chance, but that's stupid. Probably won't ever happen. New Zealand's too smart for that. New Zealand, they're like a fox, they know what they're doing. They know what's going on, versus India, they're just going with the flow. I feel Surya and Gambhir have very contrasting statements. I'm not sure what's going on. It's weird. New Zealand is just too smart to let Abhishek go free, Then again, Abhishek's record against New Zealand has been really, really good. An average of 45, strike rate of around 250, all that in 5 innings is just really, really good. Fantastic, but remember, they have 4 spinners. I can just feel the off-spin just running through India's team. They are striking at around 110 to 120 against off-spin throughout the tournament, and that's clearly one reason why they haven't been at the top of their table in the Super 8s. Not really. They just lost to South Africa, but again, they could have won hugely against the West Indies, but their West Indies spin was just too good for them, you know. So yeah, really, what can you do? You can do nothing. You just have to hope that Sanju and Dubey can play out the off spinners. So here it is, flat and simple. India have the advantage with bowling against New Zealand's batting, while New Zealand have the upper hand against India's batting. So who wins this? I do lean towards India, just because I don't see New Zealand's middle order doing well enough against Kuldeep, Bumrah, and Daksar. And that's it. I'm definitely going to be hate watching Surya Kumar Yadav. I just hate him and his statements so much, dude. I really want India to win, but like, statements just make me so mad, bro. That's it. Bye.